Recording.
Okay. So we're going to start. This is about my third from the top of the page, a little more. The line begins, and the page is called Lamed Beis, and as you notice, it's page Lamed Lev. That's a mamash. The line begins with. Okay. At the end of this is the close parentheses. And what we are pointing to, what we're going towards, is identifying Torah as the Oinag Ha'atzmi, even beyond the Oinag Ha'atzmi as it is mislabish in Chochmah. Chochmah, there is some kind of a tziyur, as I pointed out, that there is a dover. The tziyur, not that there's a specificity, there's no specificity in Chochmah. This is why there is no hasoga in Chochmah. There's nothing, you cannot grasp Chochmah. But there is, nonetheless, the principle that there is something. This something is already in a different world, a different reality than the Oinag Atzmi itself. Again, in order to make sense of the words we are saying, not to make sense to understand it, but to make sense of the words we are saying. Is it or is it not? So we're saying it is not, and it is that Inyan that is not. What kind of Inyan is that is not, and it is? This is that which has no source. Anything that has a source has an is. To make it simple for us, again, it shouldn't oversimplify the way it is, Lamaila. Sunlight, and we pointed out sunlight is just encompassing, automatically illuminating the entire world. What do you call that? Do you call it sun or do you call it light? Call it light. Which is a present, which is a something. Even though we explained that the sunlight and its purest is really representative of an essential, but the essential light is that is illuminating. There is something there. There is a something. You can relate to it. You cannot grasp what is light. Till this day, all the Chacham cannot identify, explain what light is. The experience of light. But there is an experience. And Etzem, in the Etzem, then there is, then there is no something. If there's no something, so there is nothing. So what is that? That is the truth itself. Moshe Rishon. And we have to understand, in these words that we're quoting from the Rambam, Moshe Rishon, the word Motsui is a false term. The word Motsui is a false term.
False term?
Term.
Yeah.
Doesn't really apply to him. Because Motzer means a presence.
Motzer means presence.
Yeah. There's no presence. Any term we say, what is presence? Presence is not presence. There's a contrast to it. There's no. The Motzer Rishon is not there as a contrast to not being. So even the term, the Rambam, there's no other way that we can present it to ourselves, because we are in both. So our whole orientation, our whole presence is a presence, in contrast to non-presence. Therefore we say presence. But when we say presence, Rishon, that already negates the presence as we know it. Similar to what we have emphasized here, which says Chokhmah has everything. So we pointed out, the minute you say everything, it's already not having anything. Because everything, because when you say things, it means that you accumulate things. Yeah. 1, 2, 3, a million, a billion, whatever it is, you cannot accumulate everything. There's no such thing. Okay.
So we can't get our mind around it. Obviously, we can't.
No.
This is not something we're supposed to grasp. What are we supposed to take
Okay,
from
so
this?
what's the point?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Very good. The answer is, we have a koyach ha-chokhmah. Chokhmah, as we said, is big, which means chokhmah is not interested in wrapping itself around anything in order to have. Chokhmah is absolutely satisfied in relating to it as it is beyond me. Like we said in the very simple, the pikach anon nosiv malko, I choose the king. Are you going to wrap your mind around the king? Are you going to wrap your hands around the king? Are you going to define what you're going to get from the king? No. All I want is, I know that there is a king. How do you relate to him? No, there is a king. That's how I relate to him. I'm in my home, and the king is in his palace, and there is a king. I'm alive. This is the principle. This is the principle of leadership. It goes down, it can be the pnimius and emunah and seichel and so forth, but in principle what you're relating to is the truth because it's true. Like Rambam says, emes makes you for emes. Not for emes because it's good, because it makes you feel good and it enlivens you and it elevates you. Emes purely because it's emes. We have that kind of capacity to want the emes because it's emes. We are individuals. The answer is we have that capacity. This is the special creature called human being, or Yid. Okay, I can go on, but I think I have to. What?
It is in simple terms, like whatever it gives to us, whatever you just explained, we understand to whatever extent we do. We learn in the Maimer all over the place that sense of Yiddishkeit, of just accepting the truth the way it is, it could be translated to the rock bottom of our existence easily. At to the same extent, we could go and do mundane actions with the same clarity, like of we're just doing it because it's true. That's what we're learning essentially, right?
The real answer is no, although it's not a categorical no. The Osid Love, when Mashiach will come, and after all the Giluyim, then that will be true. Is it false today? It's not false. But if we feign to have that today, we are off the wall. Today it's a hamshocha. Hamshocha means it comes from a higher level to a lower level. And that's why today we're saying there is the intermediacy of chokhmah. In chokhmah we have the sense, oh, this is the truth. But then from chokhmah on down, in particular when it comes to action, it's based on Kabbalah soil.
What we just described now is a sense of chokhmah.
Right.
And in koiches we do not have that same sense.
No, we don't have that. Except Chochmah brings that sense into the koiches, like we say, because there is oineg in every koyach. But where is the koyach get that oineg? Through Chochmah. If not for Chochmah, it wouldn't have it. For example, okay, whatever the time is, you're going to work. That's a human thing, right? You're seichel, you can relate to it. I'm going to work. I'm not just walking. I'm just trotting or moving my feet. I'm going someplace. That's a human thing. To say that my feet are going to work is never going to happen. Your mind is going to work. And the feet are obeying your mind. If you're going to say, no, my feet are going to work, okay, there is such a thing, but that's not that is something which comes after tremendous avoid and tremendous mesirus nefesh. This is not we shouldn't even imagine it. What's the expression? Elikim b'shomayim batu ba'oretz. Elikim b'shomayim batu ba'oretz. Remember that. You're not b'shomayim, you're ba'oretz. And you're following the direction, the directives, and you recognize Elikim b'shomayim. And by following these directives, you're making a perfect connection. And that's what it is. That's what's called hamshoch. Hamshoch means that you're drawing from it, not that you're bringing it. One time we had a Rom Turek in class, in the back of one time, and we were talking about the shame havayim, shame, the shame, the name. She says, why the name? Why not him? You know him only through his name. And if name is not sufficient, then you're misguided. That's not what the relationship is. Matter of fact, this is actually Klippa. Klippa claims we don't need a name, we know him, him. We represent him. We are Metzias for ourselves.
said we know him by his name, but we also know he has several names.
What?
We also know he has several names.
Okay. Yes. There's several names. There is a Shem Ha'etzim, and all other names come from this name.
So there's a main name, and then there is subsequent names.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
Again, I hope we're not misunderstanding the principle. I think he has a name. He doesn't have a name. He reveals himself to us in a certain way that gives him a name. The Rebbe points out in the parentheses just before, that's where at the end of which we are studying, that perhaps he says, Efshe, that this is the Indian, or that this can be expressed in the words of in the Indian from Re'iyas ho Ayin Mamash. That in human experience, this is the principle of sighting, the physical sighting, Re'iyas ho Ayin Mamash, which is much superior to Re'iyas ein HaSeichel. Much superior to Re'iyas ein HaSeichel. And we discussed this, if you remember, and then the Rebbe says that this is where it says Lo Yilam De'ishas Re'eyu, that one will not teach the other, because over here there's no from limud, because limud is only when you're presenting something, representing something in some kind of form. But here there is in from Shochas ho Etzem Mamash. Shochas ho Etzem Mamash. So Shochas ho Etzem Mamash, this is comparable to the experience of sight, physical sight. Now, let's examine physical sight for a moment. Physical sight is the most real experience of reality that we have. I said more even than Re'iyas ein HaSeichel. If you see a person, you see the person. Okay? Question. You see the person. Are you that person? You're not the person. Which means that there is a hamshacha. What the hamshacha is, the hamshacha is oratz. In other words, you are taking the person as he is represented to you, not as he is unto himself. And that is a tremendous thing. As he represents himself to you, but his representation. It's not you. Osik says, "V'zalachti b'soichachem, v'zalachti b'soichachem, v'yishi lechem lelikim." Are you familiar with that Osik? I see that. You know you're familiar. You understand? The Rebbe says, the Torah says, Hashem says, "V'zalachti b'soichachem, I will stroll amongst you. I've been walking with you. I'm going to take a garden walk with you." Okay, so what can be more? We're chavalap, we're buddies. So Rashi then, so Rashi says over there, Yochel, you may think that you will not have any Yiras Hashem. We are friends. We were one and the same thing.
One of the guys.
One of the guys. Like, we are active besuchen, wo ich hier kommen mit you. Yochel, the tirum many, no. That's not possible. Even the years ho ayin means that you are taking something to yourself. And you are not it. And yes, it's completely revealed to you with no hesitation, no restriction. But you have to know who you are right here, that you're just giving this. This is not you. This is not you. This is the all-pervading principle. There's a first being, and everything comes from the first being. You're never going to be the first being. Na'amit is emotion in Sekolah.
At
the same time, do we not learn that what you see in others is what you see in yourself?
That's true. That's an interpretation. But it's still, on the contrary, that's substantially what I said. You only see what you can see. You don't see the real him. You see, because you can relate to it. That's what you see. Okay, so we have to start on the new phase after the vacation, so to speak. Okay, the line begins with what ho'etzem mamash. End of parenthesis. Okay, the Isha B'Zoya. And as it is actually brought down in the Zoya, this is all to point out that in Torah there is that which is even higher than Oyna Go'as Min Chochem. Sheyesh Ba'Torah, that in Torah there is Levusha, Gufa, V'Nishmosa, and as I mentioned there is a word missing in Nishmosa, V'Nishmosa, L'Nishmosa. The word V'Nishmosa should be repeated twice. That in Torah there are these four madrigas: Lavush, Guf, Nishmosa, and Nishmosa L'Nishmosa.
I'm sorry, what word is missing?
Follow my reading and you'll see. Lavusha, Gufa, V'Nishmosa, V'Nishmosa L'Nishmosa. Okay? Lavusha, the Lavush, the Hein HaSipurim Shebatayr. This is in Torah the Sipurim. The stories. What are the stories in Torah? The stories in Torah are relating. This is the garment through which you relate to Torah. How did it come? What happened? How did I get it? This is the Lavush. The Gufa. The same thing, for instance, the Torah tells us that there was Abraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, and that we are descendants of Abraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov. It gives us an orientation. This is all the levush of the Eden. You know who you are, you know where you're coming from. Then there is a gufa. The gufa hein gufe dine ha-Torah. These are the bodies. It's called bodies. This is the essential, the dinim of Torah. Shebehem melubosh bechin as hachochma, in which is dressed, which means imbued, the inyan of chochma. This is these gufei ha-Torah, even though they are gufei ha-Torah, so to speak, a body. It seems almost a body without a soul. Adin, do's and don'ts. So it in itself is just a din. But what is this din represent? This represents the slapshus ha-chochma. When the chochma is mislabesh, then it becomes a din. That's what you're saying. When chochma, then chayz ha-nefesh is mislabesh in the hand, then it becomes a hand. A hand without the chayz ha-nefesh is not a hand. But when the nefesh is mislabish in the hand, does it become more than a hand? It becomes a hand. Doesn't become the head, doesn't become the brain. It becomes it is a head. This is the Guf HaTorah, the Din HaTorah. And then there is Nishmosa, V'Nishmosa. This is the third Madriga. This third Madriga, Nishmosa, Zehu Bechinas HaTainug HaNelam B'Chochma. This is the Tainug HaNelam, the concealed Tainug in Chochma. Any sense that we make of dinim is part of the guf.
Any sense that we make
of the dinim is part of the guf. Part of the this is still not nishmosa. This is guf. Like for example, we always pointing out when there's dinim in the Torah. Lo signoi, lo sigsoi. And we can make very good sense of that. Even the world recognizes that lo signoi, lo signoi is a proper mode of setting up society. No matter how you explain it, so to speak, at that level, the Islapshus, this is still good. You point out there is no real chokhmah, no real life in it. This is still the guf. I don't need to elaborate anymore because we already went through this many times. Then there is nishmoso bechinas hatainug hanelam b'chokhmah. This is why it's called tainug hanelam, because this is not mislabesh in the din. This is how it remains of chokhmah itself. Again, our simple example, right? You're walking in the street. You're walking, but in your mind you're going to work. And in your mind going to work, behelem, it actually activates your feet. But it's not mislabish in it. There's a kind of an element in this that gives you encouragement and gives you chayus. But again, the feet, when you do not, no way do the feet appreciate the fact you're going to work. The feet think that you're exercising. At best. Otherwise you're disturbing me, you don't give me a chance to rest. But this we have to understand, and we have discussed it. In Chokhmah there is a timing on that, because Chokhmah does relate to the essential Inyan. Again, I need to repeat it, but this is, in Chokhmah there is Tainug and Elam, there is a real chayus in Chokhmah. Not that Chokhmah, I said, can embrace it, take it into itself. But Chokhmah can sense it and relate to it. It is not incorrect to say that Chokhmah is the primary Mekabel oil. Kabbalah says, you just accept the reality the way it is. But
It's not what to say that? It's not incorrect to say
it's
that?
not incorrect to say that. But it is not the entire truth. Because when Chokhmah is at Kabbalah soil, it actually experiences, sees the beauty of it. The oinag. It wants it. But it wants it not because it takes it to itself and it digests it. It wants it because that's where I want to be. That's what I want to be. I think it's not me, I don't have it. This is what I want to be. Where I want to be. This is the Tanik HaNela Mechom. This is why it's Nela. Because even Chochmah does not really grasp it. It relates to it. It remains in its place. It remains where it is. And Chochmah relates to it. And then there is the fourth Madrege. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I'll just repeat that which we explained last time. This time this is what was revealed in Matan Torah. We pointed out that the Gufei Torah existed before him. All the way back to all the Mauritian and Noach, they all learned Torah. This was the Gufei Torah. But Matan Torah was in his Kabbalah a new aspect of Torah. That this Torah is something which is given from above. This is the Oineg element. A superior reality in Torah, rather than the correctness of the Guf HaTorah, the Guf HaDin.
Goof, you're looking at on the worldly level.
For me,
Goof, you're looking
yeah.
on the worldly level.
Goofy is how Torah is Mislavish Mamash. Goofy didn't have Torah. Do's and don'ts. But the fact that it's given by Matan Torah, that gives it a completely different thing. But you have to do this not because it fits into the world, but because there is a boiler oil. That gives it a completely different perspective.
Abraham Avinu, he didn't have that?
Abraham Avinu did not have it. I mean, he knew there's a Meibash's world, and therefore you have to, but he didn't have the Meibash in his activity. Not that the Meibash wants you to act like this. He acted according to the correctness in the world because it's a Meibash's world. You didn't have that, you can only have when it's given. You can't say you obey me when I didn't tell you to obey. This is it for this morning. Have a good day. I don't get overstay. Have a good day.
What did you say with the hand remaining a hand when you were explaining the goof? I just missed that. The hand does.
The nefesh and the chokhmah gives life to the hand.
But the hand remains a hand.
The hand remains a hand. It does not, like I said, when the feet walk to work, are they walking to work? No, feet are walking.
But the human quality comes in the chokhmah. The fact that there's a purpose, the fact that he's intending to walk to somewhere.